Welcome to High End Homes Handled Right. This is the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Lyndel Johnson. On a previous episode, we talked about evictions, and we talked about what property managers and owners need to know about evictions and what the process looks like. Today's episode, I really want to talk to you, the tenant. So we get a little relaxed. We're not going to be uptight today. I want to talk to you, Lyndel, to you, tenant, or renter, or someone that's right now in a beautiful home right now that you hopefully love. And I want to talk to you about trying to prevent evictions from taking place. And if you are about to be evicted, just to know what that process looks like. First thing you need to do is look at your lease. A lot of, renters right now, they were excited when they were approved for their house and, they moved in and they didn't look at the lease again. It's the lease in my hand, and they just, put the lease in some cabinet and never looked back at it. I need you to take that lease and go through it again, because that lease is going to explain what the rules are. When is rent due, for example? Are you being charged the correct amount? And it also talks about if you can no longer pay, what are the steps that are taken? This is very important. You need to know your rights, and you need to know what that process looks like. The next thing you need to know is if you are late, let's just say it's the 3rd, most likely, you're going to get a 3-day notice on the 4th day. Sometimes this could be the 5th, but this could be after you're late. If you get that notice, you need to know that you need to respond. It is huge. You need to make sure that you communicate with the homeowner. You need to make sure that you communicate with that property management company and let them know what's happening. I know that, you most likely did not withhold your rent on purpose. That something may have happened. You may have been on vacation and you may have, returned and you may have forgotten to pay the rent, or something may have happened. You need to communicate that with your property management company or the homeowner. I mean, they're humans just like you, and they've lived the same, just like you, and probably had issues just like you. So just communicate. You received that 3-day notice. Communicate back to the homeowner and the landlord, property management company. Make sure they know what's happening and have a plan on how you're going to pay your rent. Make sure that everybody understands. And I would actually recommend that you do this in writing. Send an email stating that, you were late and these are the steps you're going to take. The owner or property management company may do it for you, come up with a payment plan, but just make sure you communicate back, because if not, it's then they're going to go and they're going to file for that eviction. If you are facing that eviction, just here is the process. Once they filed, it's going to take several days before you're going to get a court date. Once you get a court date, the court is then going to hear your case. The judge is going to hear your case. At that time, the judge is going to come up and he's going to say, okay, yes, we agree. You need to leave the property. You have 5 days from that day to respond. You have up to 5 days to state your case and state, why, you were late, and, you can request for more time or request to make a payment at that point. So you do have rights, and certain counties are more lenient than others. But, you really got to know that the homeowner doesn't want to really evict you, but they have a mortgage most time, and it's just a sad situation from everybody. They would most likely love to keep you, but they have to evict you. There are different types of evictions. You've got evictions not because of you're not paying rent. And there's also evictions because of maybe things on the lease that you're not abiding by. Maybe in the lease they stated that you can't smoke indoors. and you're smoking inside and they find out that you're smoking indoors. Maybe on the lease it says that you can't have no pets, and they've done a walk and they found out you have 4 pets, and they've given you a violation and you still haven't fixed it. Maybe there's issues in the property where you're throwing parties or something like that. I mean, these are all situations that I've seen that can cause an eviction. So it's not only an eviction based on, not paying rent, but there are other items or issues that may cause an eviction. So once again, you need to go back to the lease. The lease will tell you what's allowed in the property. The lease will tell you what you can't do in the property. The lease will tell you how much to pay rent and when to pay it. So always keep this document in hand so you have a reference point. Now, another thing you need to do is when you are departing that house, make sure that it is as clean and you've done a great job making sure that it's how you have basically moved in. There's a such thing as beyond normal wear and tear. When you pay your deposit, the amount that they take away from your deposit is everything beyond normal wear and tear. So what that is let's just say you have a bedroom set that's on the wall. And on that wall, it's been there for so long, for about a year or whatever, and it has like a line on the wall. That would be considered normal wear and tear, which is totally different than, let's just say, that same bed set. You have a toddler or a child that's in elementary school, and every day he jumps on the bed and he's rocking it and he's banging into the walls, and then it's like putting a hole in the wall. That's beyond normal wear and tear. So when the homeowner or the property management company goes through, you're evicted, you're out of the property, and they're doing a tour and they're deciding how much money to take away from your deposit, that's what they're looking for, beyond normal wear and tear. What you need to do is make sure that when you move into that property, you actually do that inspection, which the owner tells you to do. There are so many renters out there that they move in and they don't do a move-in checklist. They don't go through every room, make sure the walls look good, make sure the floors look good. If you don't do that, then it's the homeowner's word against yours, but you have no historical data. You have no facts. You have nothing to show that hole in the wall that's in the laundry room was there when you moved in. There's no proof of that. So when you're moving in, once again, you've got, what do you have? You've got your lease in hand. You've read the lease. You've also now gotten your checklist. You've gone through the checklist. You've turned it in, and now you have your historical data. No one ever wants to get evicted, but these are things you need to make sure you have. But not only that, when you move out normally, when your lease is over, they're still going to take your deposit if you don't have that checklist completed. So, be smart about it. Make sure you take care of that in the front end. Now, once again, now you've moved out. Now you're living how you're supposed to live, and you found a new house and you're comfortable. You need to know that eviction is going to be on your credit for a while. It's going to be in your record for a long period of time. And it may be harder now to find another place. And why I say that is, I know, like, if you're living in a place right now, you've been evicted, maybe it hasn't hit the system yet, or hasn't hit your record and you didn't notice it, they didn't realize it. Or maybe you didn't put where you lived previously, maybe you didn't put it down on the application, which you should, but it'll catch up to you. So please pay your rent on time. Don't go through all this. Pay your rent on time. If accidents or issues occur, communicate it with your property management company and the homeowner, and everything will be okay. Once again, this is High End Homes Handled Right, the Real Property Management Luxury Podcast.